In this video, we illustrate how to use Excel GoalSeek to find a break-even point for Nowlin Plastics. Nowlin Plastics has a product known as the Viper cell phone cover, and they face the following decision problem. Should they manufacture the Vipers they need, or should they outsource the production of those Vipers? The relevant data are shown on this slide. If Nowlin manufactures the Viper, the fixed cost is $234,000, and that's independent of the quantity produced. For every Viper they produce, they incur a cost of $2 per unit. The alternative is to outsource the production of the Viper, and there is no fixed cost in that case, but the per unit cost is higher, $350 versus $2. So the question is, for what quantity will Nowlin be indifferent between manufacturing versus outsourcing? Why is this a relevant question? Well, if you look at the cost for small quantities, it should be obvious that it's cheaper to outsource. In other words, think if we only need one unit, if you don't have to incur the $234,000 fixed charge, you'd pay the $3.50 obviously and outsource. For very high volume quantities of Viper, it might make more sense to manufacture, because every Viper you make is $1.50 cheaper as long as you make up the fixed cost and savings. And so if we can find that point where the manufacturing total cost and the outsourcing total cost is the same, that is, their difference is zero, then that will be the break point. And we know that for quantities of Vipers less than the break point, that outsourcing is better, and for quantities higher than the break point, we know that manufacturing will be better. And so again, what we're trying to do is find the quantity for which manufacturing cost and outsourcing cost are equal. And we'll use a spreadsheet model to do that. This is a spreadsheet model of a Nowlin Plastics break-even problem. We see we have a parameter section where we just have data, in this case the fixed cost for manufacturing, the variable cost per unit for manufacturing, and the outsourcing cost per unit. We have a model section where we have a cell for the quantity of Vipers that we need. The total cost to produce is calculated based on that quantity, and the total cost to outsource is calculated based on that quantity as well. And finally, the savings, the difference between cost to produce and cost to outsource, which we've labeled savings due to outsourcing, is calculated in row 17. We see for a volume of 25,000, a quantity of 25,000, that the cost to produce is much higher than the cost of outsourcing, and there's significant savings, in this case $196,500 cheaper to outsource than to produce when we need 25,000 Vipers. Now the question we're trying to answer is, for what quantity of Vipers is the total cost to produce and the total cost to outsource equal? That is, where is this difference exactly zero? Excel has a wonderful tool called GoalSeek, which allows us to do just that. So if I go to the Data tab and then over to the Forecast group and What If Analysis and click on GoalSeek, the GoalSeek dialog box appears. There are three input areas in the GoalSeek dialog box. The first is Set Cell, and I want to set which cell do I want to set equal to something. I would like to set the cell B17 to a value of 0 by changing the quantity, which is in B11. So let's review that again. I put B17 as the set cell. I'm looking for the break-even quantity. So if I put the savings due to outsourcing to 0, that's the 2 value, then by changing cell B11, what this will do, the goal seek will find the value of quantity that sets the savings due to outsourcing to 0, and we will have our break-even point. I say OK, and we see that it says goal seek status dialog box appears. Goal seeking with cell B17 found a solution. The target value is 0. The current value is 0. And so we say OK. And so what we find here is that for a quantity of 156,000, we would be indifferent to producing versus outsourcing that quantity. Now we also know that for any volume less than 156,000, we will be better off outsourcing. And for any volume higher than 156,000, we would be better off producing in-house. So that's an example of how to use goal seek to find a break-even point